towers. So I guess he's thinking that he needs to, do better and assume that the game's going to go longer. But truthfully, I think if he continued to build towers in, he could pressure Czech a lot more than he's doing. And another thing that I think he should have done a long time ago, and he hasn't done, is focusing on those Ancients of War. But I think if he took out the shop, that'd be a lot more effective. The shop right now, because it's daytime, because he only has 2 moon wells, and because those moon wells have a combined about 100 well juice, even less. The shop's his only source of healing, so it's not the most difficult thing in the world to cut that off from a long distance. You just wouldn't want to play Master until the demos have view of the shop, and you just take it out. But anyways, so here he is. He's attempting now, a little late, to put up the towers. Not a little late, I guess, but later than it could be. The nice thing about Raiders, like I said, the nice thing about the Naga is with Ensnare and with Frost Arrow, you can keep a hero, like the Demon Hunter, in range of the towers longer than it would want to be. So like, versus Human, if they just like straight tier 1 tower rush you, you can pretty much gauge how long you can, your Blade Master, for example, can stay in range of the towers before you have to run away. But the Elf versus Raiders and versus Frost Arrow has to factor those 2 things in, and it makes it a lot riskier to come in range of the towers. So, worth noting. And it's at this point where you've really got them kind of, he can't really just have his DOS chilling in the back, because the Windwalker Blade Master will come in and then the demos will snipe them. He really has to apply some pressure. And I think Eric's done a pretty good job of denying that pressure, mainly by keeping the pots on his hero and by retreating at all the right times. And the Ancients of the nice thing about Raiders 2 against the Ancients of War is when they come in range of your towers, you let your towers beat on the Ancients, and you ensnare as many of the wisps as possible. I love that word, wisps. Anyway, ensnare as many of them as possible, and they're going to die very quickly to tower focus fire. So again, this is, Eric's heroes are pretty, in a straight up battle here, I don't think Eric would have much of a chance. Well, actually, now he would at this point, he would, but his heroes are still very low level. Level 1 Naga dies very quickly and is pretty much useless unless you have a superior army, which he did early on. Which, again, the Naga just gets worse and worse as the game goes on. So if you're going Naga 2nd, it's because you intend to tower rush, I assume. Otherwise, it's much better to have the Torn Chieftain. Although you'll see some more players will get a Naga just to pressure more at tier 2, while they're actually throwing up a Bestiary and a Spirit Lodge. And that can work if you gain enough of a tier 2 advantage, but again, risky. And Shockwave is definitely your best bet for AoE against dots. So again, Eric, I think, is just prolonging. I don't know what Eric's doing. I really feel like he could fight at this point. There's only 2 Moonwells left. You just have to ignore the Demon Hunter, which I guess is a little bit of a risk. But if you use those demos and attack round, the archers die so fast. And he's doing a good job pressuring the hull. Czech only has, I think, he had 3 wisps on gold, now he has 4, because he's had to repair. And looking at Czech's resources, he's very low on gold. He does have a 41 foot army, but he knows, I hope he knows, that he can't fight against these towers. He does do something very clever, though. I don't know if you guys noticed, but he sent a wisp to the back of the Goblin Merchant, and he built a Tree of Life. So he's got this kind of backup plan going where he's going to prolong Eric's killing of his base for as long as possible to get as much gold as possible out of his mine, which is always a good idea. And then he's going to dare Eric to fight him in a one-on-one fight by building this expo. So Eric sees him trying to leave, and then does his best to take out the army. But you'll see, because he's got position with those moonwells, that's not really a fight Eric wanted to push, let's say. And Czech wants to leave because Czech knows his time in this area is very limited because of those towers and their excellent range. And as great as Orc towers are offensively versus Elf, they're terrible defensively. That's one thing I should probably add. Unless they're massive huntresses, and even then, they're not very great. And you're almost always better off making an army if you're gonna, for defensive purposes, than you are towers. Whereas with human towers, they're excellent versus all races and almost all strategies. So you don't really need an army in all situations, it seems like. Whereas if you were thinking, if you were thinking, oh, I'll have 1 or 2 towers up just to defend against burrow harassment, or to let me tech without a barracks so I can get raiders, walkers faster. That's often a bad idea, just because they die so easily to archer focus fire and they do so little damage to archers in the demon hunter. But anyways, so Check's got his expansion going up. He's keeping the hawk near it, which is, I guess, a good idea to protect the wisps, even though he knows the blade isn't there. And he's going to do some creeping now while Eric finishes off his base, or he gets it finished off, but while Eric stays near his base and protects his expansion going up. It's a very good idea for Check to creep for items and to gain the hero level advantage, because you can't really build an army at this point anymore, at least not until his expansion goes up. So his best chance really of taking on Eric one-on-one would be to have the better army. And he's already bought a potion of invulnerability from the shop, which is a great idea. He's got to be able to fight him. And then the next thing he can hope for, and he's actually going to have it happen, he can pretty safely creep with the Quill Beasts as tanks. And he's got 2 moon wells up, so it's not like he can't heal at all. But definitely doesn't have great healing right now. But again, like, this mercenary camp is something that's very easy to creep. If he has food, which he doesn't, it could have been a good source for a quick army for him. Never forget the mercenary camp, just for a quick army. But here, takes out the dragon very quickly and gets the boots. Well, that's I really hope that's not how it's pronounced. But +6 agility, obviously very useful in Demon Hunter. Yeah, here we go. This is the camp he creeps out, I believe. The mistake he's made here with the creeping is he's been a little ambitious. I think he's seen that the Blade Master has seen his town hall, so it's because he knows that there's at least 3 demolishers and a few raiders. That base is just not going to last very long if he's not there to defend it. So intelligently, he creeps what he can very quickly. He should be uprooting his tree right now, so that it doesn't take as much damage as the demo from the raiders. And he doesn't do it, which is going to cost him the tree. But Check wisely attacks. What Check did is he crept the item dropping creep of the laboratory camp, and his reward for that was the Book of the Dead, which, given that Eric only has walkers now, this is only his first walker coming out right now, is obviously a very useful item for Check. Unfortunately, Eric's expansion's gone up, and if you're actually looking at the replay time, it looks, I think the replay's broken. Maybe it's just my replay, but it says that it's less than halfway finished right now. It's not, don't worry about that. The game's going to end soon. I was really nervous, and I thought Check was going to pull some crazy comeback when I first watched this. Obviously, taking out the burrows, the next smartest thing Check could do, because he knows Eric has an expansion. If you have an expansion and no burrows, then the gold is pretty much useless to you since you can't get the army that you want. Eric says, hey, it doesn't really matter. I already have a 60-foot army, I'm just going to take out your expansion. Which again, Check just could not have played. You can't win that game at that point. Race game versus Orc. He should have been able to defend his expansion the second time. And I'm not saying he would have won the fight in either circumstance, but it was his best chance of winning the game. And in fact, at this point, I really don't understand why Eric doesn't just turn the fight. Especially since half his army is still trailing behind him. But anyways. There you go. It's 3-3 versus 2-2. The army size is heavily in Eric's favor, 60 versus 30 food. And you can really just right-click heroes. I said that, and then it really was pretty costly on his part, but the archers just don't stand up to attack ground and the demos, to the Blade Master, and to the Naga. Check says, that's a pretty weak surround on the Demon Hunter. But anyway, the raiders are doing damage to him, as you can see. Anyways, Demon Hunter falls, and Check says, good game. Beat it, I guess, which is the next best thing to do. So that's game 1. Pretty interesting strategy. Again, I want to stress that I think, I'm 99% certain that Eric did not go into that game thinking, and a tier 2 tower rush with the Naga. But he definitely had the idea to harass first and hope to delay the Ancients of, maybe cancel some wind wells and delay the Angels of Wind. And he did a very successful job of doing that, such to the point that he just said, hell, I'll just tower rush. And that was a very, very good move on his part. And in fact, I think that game would have been over 10 minutes earlier if he hadn't stupidly lost his Blade Master. Careless little mistakes like that. So let's get game 2 up. Game 2 is, I think it's game 2 in the series. And it's on Twisted Meadows. And again, Eric does a different strategy, we'll say. So we're going to pause it at